Good job.
No.
We're
It's
gonna go
mine.
up the stairs.
Oh, fine. It's mine. Oh, one treasure for me.
What are you doing?
What?
Your mouth.
You just noticed.
No.
Okay. I swing the tree and I smack the fireball. Woo! Okay.
And then give me the bridge.
No, it's mine.
Fine.
It's mine.
I'm gonna.
Whoa! More!
Nah. I redirect the marbles. Turning the goddamn. Turning the trees.
Shit. Oh, geez, no! Earthquake!
It's erupted.
Oh, no! I am Vul-kar.
I want to
fine.
send the marbles down and hit the people.
Oh, no! Oh! They're dead!
No!
They're dead!
No, they're not dead. No one dies in this game. They just get really big boo-boos.
Oh. Boo-boos.
Ah!
Should we actually play the game?
Fine.
This is the ad for the original Fireball Island, published by Milton Bradley in 1986. This game is considered to be a classic among children's board games. This isn't it.
Well, it is, and it isn't. This game was a Kickstarter published by Restoration Games, whose motto is, "Every game deserves another turn."
Note, normally we do not talk about Kickstarters because there's normally no guarantee a board game will get to the open market after that Kickstarter is finished. However, since the original version of this game is $400 on Amazon and also on eBay, $200 for an incomplete copy, we figured we'd never get a chance to talk about this otherwise.
It is important to know that this is not an exact copy of the original game. I think a good way to describe it is a reboot or a sequel due to all the changes made by the manufacturer.
Mm-hmm. And since we haven't played the original game, we can't tell you about every single little difference between this one and the original version. However, we can give you a couple examples based on what we've observed. For example, instead of rolling dice to move, like in the original one, you now draw cards, and the board has been broken up into 3 sections with ease of storage. We'll get back to that. As opposed to the original being one gigantic board. Also, trees.
What's in the box, ladies and gentlemen? Well, let's tell everybody in the box.
We have trees.
We have bridges. We have a ladder.
We have tiny tourists.
We have little tokens of treasure of various types.
We have these marbles that represent embers.
We have a D3 in the form of a 6-sided dice.
We have this marble in representation of a fireball.
We have cards of 3 kinds.
We have the maw.
What's the maw?
I don't know. But it's got a lucky penny in it.
Oh, it's a lucky penny in it. Okay. And of course, the Fiesta Resistance.
Vul-kar?
Yes!
Did you forget his name?
No, I wanted you to say his name.
Sure. And we have Vul-kar's heart sitting next to him. If he had a sleeve, his heart would be on his sleeve.
And last but not least, a cardboard helicopter that makes no sense.
That's powered by a jet.
First, choose your favorite color playing piece. The game requires 2 to 4 players, or up to 5 if you have bought the expansion. You may have to get into fisticuffs to play your favorite color. Set up the board as stated in the instructions.
Players draw 2 cards to determine how far they can move their piece. Players must move the maximum amount of spaces, but may do the action listed on the card. Some cards allow the player to cause Vul-kar to erupt, rolling the fireball marbles down the board. Once this is done, that particular card is placed on a tracker.
When 3 are placed, all movement cards are shuffled back into the deck, and another fireball is added to erupt from Vul-kar. Once 4 balls are placed, the players have up to 2 turns to return to the helicopter or be killed.
Players may also summon the helicopter by collecting 3 different photos, 1 of each color. The players run around collecting treasures scattered around the island, which are worth points. The players who escape the island alive with the most points win. If there is a tie, good job, you've both won. The original Fireball Island was made as a way for kids to have adventures at home.
In the 80s and 90s, it was common for a good kids game to have lots of breakable and easy to lose parts.
This version of Fireball Island was made out of pure nostalgia and love for the original game. People who would want this game either play with it originally or just love the thought of playing with these little tiny pieces. I really like Vul-kar. Vul-kar creates a wonderful focal point for the entire board. It just epitomizes the style, that theme that they've been shooting for this game. It's just, I love that piece. To me, it's the best part of the entire board game. I also like the fact that Restoration Games took the time to go through the gameplay, focus on the parts that were really good in the first place, and tweak the stuff that was weaker in the original game. For example, marbles. You get to roll so many marbles. You can never roll too many marbles. I like marbles.
And more than one way to win. I also like rotating the trees in Vul-kar to try and control the marbles so that they roll away from you. It's also nice that they separated the board into 3 parts and that there's no huge box like the original had.
Definitely.
I also like running around in a 3-dimensional board, and having all those little pieces to play with is very alluring.
I agree. As a kid, I would have lost half of it in the first month.
That would have depended on my age. I reached a certain point in my life where I started taking care of my board games.
I still lose my wallet.
What would you do without me?
I wouldn't be able to find my wallet. So, can we recommend it?
This is a hard one.
I enjoy the game, but there's just a lot of issues with it that make me hesitate to recommend it. For starters, the board itself is very delicate.
Actually, it's all delicate.
Yes, it is. The board itself is made from a vacuum formed plastic that is really thin. And on top of that, some of the molds did not come out right, and the paint was not applied correctly on parts of the board. And there's some issues of the parts being warped. For example, there's a third of the board that does not sit flat. And on top of all of that, we had an instance where we could not put a part in where it needed to go because there was leftover plastic still in it.
Which was taken care of with an X-Acto knife.
The cards warped overnight. Some of the marbles have some very major flaws and are like flat on certain parts of it.
Actually, that may have been a design, but not all of them have it.
Putting the game away is an absolute pain. The box itself is a slightly better quality than a donut box. And yes, we checked. And then there's the cosmetic issues. Just, as I said before, the paint isn't all lined up, images are skewed, and even though it looks good on camera, in person, the colors are just a bit muddy. And in some cases, it's really hard to tell where your character can go.
This is not a low-light game.
And at this point, I was still on the fence about whether or not I could recommend this game, even while we were writing the script. Because yes, it has its problems, but it's fun. And it's actually really well designed. I mean, there's a reason why I started the video with no beard, and now it is growing back. We have been going back and forth on this for quite a while now. But for me, one of the big clinchers for me was when I was putting it away for the first time and getting everything as organized as I could be to try and fit it all back in the box. And as I'm putting it away, I'm putting away these island pieces, the last thing to go in the box, and I look underneath. And I start seeing scratching. Because the paint was not applied on top. It was applied underneath. And if I'm seeing scratches on where the paint was applied after one playthrough, that's really bad. That is not acceptable in any way. It doesn't matter how good the gameplay is. If you can't see the board anymore, if it all just scratches off.
I would recommend it if you like the three-dimensional aspect of the game or are overcome with nostalgia. But beyond that, I can't, it kills me, but I can't recommend it. This next part, I'm putting a disclaimer because the issue I found could ruin the game for you. It's a cheat I found, so if you do not want to know it, jump to the time above. The tipping point for me was discovering while filming that you can reliably cheat because of the way Vul-kar is made. Once you learn this, launching fireballs isn't random, and you can have a huge edge over your opponents, especially if they don't know it.
This game has been really conflicting for us. Now, we really love certain aspects of it, like how the game plays, like how Vul-kar is designed, how the game itself lets you feel like a little kid playing with your marbles again. This just has too many problems for us to recommend it.
All these issues, though, are manufacturing problems, and the more they are addressed, the more I feel it is worth getting.
Well,
it took a while, but it's done.
it's done.
How are we going to store this now?
Shouldn't we tell them to thank you for watching and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe?
Okay. Thank you for watching. Be quiet. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Yeah, this one was a hard one. Sorry it took so long for it to get out.
Yeah. So
how are we going to store this thing?
well, the first step is keeping the cat away.
What is one?
No, don't.
Yeah. Knock him down.